Let Vijay Chauthaiwala respond to the critique that if this is truly non-political, if this is truly about all of India, why wasn't the opposition involved in some of these functions? Why was it only one party and one leader? Let him respond to that. Mr. Chauthaiwala.
On the other side, Rahul, when is the last time the events have been organized at so many places in so many different parts of the country? It only shows that the government was very keen and is still keen to bring everyone, every stakeholder on board. And as someone has said, most probably Rajdeep has said, that many Congress government chief ministers have also put their hoarding, etc. But essentially, in the participatory democracy, all the sections of the society have been invited in different engagement groups. I myself, I was involved in the Y20 to a little extent, and there are more than 200 small and big group events with the college students have been taken place all over the India. When is the last time the G20 and the objectives were discussed at such a grassroots level? So this is, don't go by only one parameter, whether some chief minister or one...
The good news for me was when I happened to be in Mumbai during a G20 meeting that was going on, and pollution levels had drastically come down because all other construction...
And look at all the construction that's happening.
For a couple of days, which is great.
Projects which would have taken years are being wrapped up in weeks.
And that's
so that
often
benefits all of us.
That's often happened.
That's not politics, that's just good for citizens.
No, when the Commonwealth Games happened in Delhi, that dramatically transformed infrastructure. But Salman...
With a lot of corruption thrown in. With a lot of corruption thrown in at that time.
Look, the fact at the end of the day is whenever a big event has taken place in India, it benefits society in general because you get infrastructure put in that otherwise doesn't come. But I thought
No, but you can't compare that.
No, the
CWG was a lot of wasteful expenditure with massive, colossal corruption thrown in.
There are two ways to look at CWG. CWG, as any athlete will tell you, you speak to any sports organizer, was a dramatic transformation in India's idea of how it saw itself in global sport. That was the takeoff point. The corruption was the terrible dark point of it. The advantage of it was it gave India the belief, the self-belief that it could go across the world. India's performance in the last 15 years
But you've now had the same infrastructure development without charges of corruption.
Well, that to my mind is because at the end of the day, as of now, the Modi government has not been, there has been no visible scam that has been found. Whether the media has not inquired into it or whether none exists is another matter. But I thought the interesting aspect is what Geeta said about Kashmir, and Salman sources from Kashmir. Will you recognize that you've used G20, and I think that's the creative use by the Modi government of G20 to send out a message to the world that post the abrogation or effective abrogation of Article 370, Kashmir too could organize a G20 event. Do you, as an opposition leader, now celebrate that we've reached out to every corner of the country through G20?
Well, this is not just about Kashmir, but events were organized in Kashmir before Article 370 abrogation. I'm sorry, please do not convey the wrong kind of impression to the people in the country, because people might think that nothing used to happen in Kashmir. In fact, there used to be elections.
I didn't say nothing, but a mega event did take place. This was a big event, a global event.
Rajdeep, I've listened to all of you. Please patiently listen to me. Okay, I know you've been having a discussion, now listen to me. You've not had elections in Kashmir, J&K since 2014. It's almost 10 years. That's a shameful thing. Okay? You talk about G20, but you do not talk about basic democracy. What are you guys talking about? Now, Rahul talks about no corruption. Rahul should spend some time, investigating what's happened in the Home Ministry. Maybe you guys should be reporting more on what's happened by the CAG's reports on massive corruption in the BJP, in this government, in the Modi government. And by the way, you may talk about this as a political masterstroke and all that. We should all be happy that India is presiding over the G20 this time, and there are a lot of good things have happened. And as far as foreign policy is concerned, I've already said we're all in this together. But Mr. Modi does make everything about himself. Look at what he did to the ISRO scientists, when we should have been looking at that countdown clock to see the rover actually land on the moon. At that moment, we were looking at Mr. Modi. With all the money advantage, all the media advantage that Mr. Modi has, everything is about Modi, including in the G20. The difference between the NDA and the India alliance in your survey is just 2 percentage points, and we're 8 months away. Watch
You know,
what
there was an RTI. There was an RTI in July which said that government incurs expenses of rupees 50.6 crores on outdoor ads that were contracts given to 100 advertising companies. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, is that publicity about India, as you're saying? Is it about Prime Minister Modi and his political outreach? Or is it, you know, what is that publicity for? Could we have done this without the hoardings, the hype?
Let Vijay Chauthaiwala respond.
Can I just go back to Salman's source just once, Salman? You're talking about events being held in Kashmir. The difference over here, and I'd just like to point that out, is the fact that in the past, nobody would go to Kashmir if it's an official engagement from the OIC. The Arab world has a different view on Kashmir. This time around, when the G20 event was being organized, there were countries who represented themselves, one. Those who could not represent themselves because they have stature at the OIC and did not want to look bad on the policy of Kashmir at the OIC, did send private representatives from the tourism sector because that was a tourism event. So that's the difference where India has, this is not critiquing or praising, but I'm just saying this is the difference where the Arab world has started looking at India differently and dehyphenating the whole issue of Kashmir when it comes to engaging India.
Let me respond to that.
Please.
Very quick response.
Look, there has been a movement. India's foreign policies have evolved. Mr. Kajju will testify to that. This is all part of a continuum. But, Geeta, what I would request you, Rajdeep, Rahul, and everybody else on this panel, and those watching us, to reflect on, is that we talk so much about G20 and being held everywhere, especially Kashmir, but we do not reflect on an assembly election since 2014. What is wrong in Kashmir and J&K that we cannot have an assembly election for 10 years? Come on, you people, where are your priorities? Where are the country's priorities?
I think there can be no going away from the fact that there should be elections.
No,
2000.
He's talking about assembly elections. The last assembly elections, if I'm not mistaken, in Kashmir, were held in 2014 end.
14 end. And
That's
Jammu Kashmir assembly term is for 6 years. It's not for 5 years.
But they haven't had an election.
I get it, but the term ends. I mean,
But he's
technically,
talking about the years,
2020 तक तो वैसे भी election नहीं होना था. What I'm simply trying to
Point
say
taken,
is
okay.
not that way.
Point taken. Okay.
India's #1 political reporter.
Defines what seems to be happening, vendetta politics. कोई दूध के से धुला हुआ नहीं है.
Unmatched eye. Unmatched experience.
The world has changed. My black hair has become grey as well.
And with unmatched passion for the story.
Do not monopolize the conversation.
When it's 100% news that matters. It's News Today with Rajdeep Sardesai. Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. Only on India Today TV.